if you've had these thoughts before, it may be a sign that you are stuck in a life you no longer want, or maybe you need to make a change that you've been delaying. So today we're going to chat about the 5 most toxic thoughts that can keep you stuck in a place you no longer want to be, and exactly what to do about it. My name is Sarah May, and I help women and men to make changes in their life required to live what they feel like is an exceptional life. And chief among those is starting a profitable business, but we talk about way more than business. We talk about business, mindset, wellness, and your mental health. So if you like what I chat about, don't hesitate to subscribe. And if you know someone who would love this content, share the video with them as well. So let's dive right in to the topic of today's video, which is the 5 most toxic thoughts that keep you stuck. I know this because of my firsthand experience with wanting to make big changes in my life, and also through my experience training hundreds of women to start profitable businesses. So these fears are very common. The number 1 most toxic thought is, but I wasted so much time, energy, and money to get to where I am today. Maybe you've spent 10 years in a relationship that you're seriously questioning, or maybe you spent 6 years like I did going to college, university in order to get a degree, to get the job that you wanted, only to get to that situation and realize it's not at all what you wanted. Part of life is this experimenting with different paths to see what fits. Now, in business, there's something called the sunk cost effect. And what the sunk cost effect says is that when we decide to pivot or change angles, we can sometimes have a sunk cost, meaning that the money is just kind of wasted, like a sunken ship. Here's the thing though, I want you to refrain thinking as this as a sunk cost. And here's why, because the sunk cost effect is not just about a sunk cost. We get so many experiences and learnings and wisdom from the things that go wrong in our lives. In fact, arguably more than that which goes right. I want you to avoid thinking of things as a sunk cost, because what the sunk cost principle tells us is that as humans, we are more likely to keep at a path simply because we have put the time and energy and effort into it, not necessarily because it's what we still want. When it comes to this thought, ask yourself, am I really afraid to make a change just because of this sunk cost effect? Or do I still want to do it for other reasons? If you have other reasons in the mix, like maybe still a bit of passion, curiosity, those might be warranted reasons to stick at it. But if it really is just because I just can't face the fact that I'm going to have to just cut a loss here, then that may be a sign that you need to work up some courage to just go ahead and do it, and know and understand that those valuable lessons are going to come back to you at a future date where you can use it in another way. I know I have, and so many women that I've worked with have too. I also work with men, but predominantly women are attracted to my story. Let's move on to the next most toxic thought, which is, shouldn't I just be grateful? If you're here watching this video, you're a smart cookie, I'm guessing, and you've already heard about the amazing transformative power of gratitude. I used to work as a health coach in a hospital for heart patients, people that had had heart events, heart attacks, and we used to educate them on the very transformative power of gratitude, and how in just several weeks, even practicing daily gratitude can improve your heart health, your mental health, and these are peer-reviewed scientific studies. It's a real thing. But here's the flip side of the coin. When it comes to gratitude, we can often start to use it as a way to shame or guilt ourselves into sticking onto a path that we may or may not want anymore. I want you to be aware that yes, it's important to be grateful for the things in your life that are going well. Absolutely, we should be every day remembering those things. And I know you probably already know that, but I also want you to get really realistic and say, am I forcing myself to be grateful for the situation just because of the guilt of needing to be grateful? Or could I just admit today, I'm actually not grateful for that. Maybe my job is no longer suiting me and I am not grateful for that. So yes, it's important to be grateful for the things that you should be grateful for, or want to be grateful for, or truly are grateful for. But on the flip side, it's okay. You have all the power in the world. This is your God-given right. You can say, I am not grateful for this and it needs to change. So just watch how that is working in your life, because again, it can leave signs as to which direction you should go in. The next most toxic thought is, but what is wrong with me? This is an interesting thought, because when I I just graduated from my 6 years of university and I got a job at a hospital, and I remember feeling kind of like I was just trying to make it through the days so I could get home and do what I really wanted to do. In fact, I was probably a pretty bad employee because I carried my journal with me everywhere, and at every moment I could, I would sneak in writing in my journal about the next story. I wanted to be an author at that time. One day I was walking down the hallway. This was in the first few months of the job, and I remember running into someone named Joanne, a person who pulled out a business card, and she was very similar to me, very similar age, and had just graduated within the last few years, and she handed me her business card. And I remember having this rude awakening that, oh my God, this person takes her job so much more seriously than I do, and she's appearing to even enjoy it. So that's where I started to think I had the shame, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Why is everyone else seeming to take their job so seriously, and yet I can't even force myself to make it through an entire day without spending a bit of time writing or doing something that I wanted to do, or hating the water cooler talk, or not wanting to have business cards because I didn't really feel invested in the mission. Here's the thing. If you're thinking on a regular basis, well, just what is wrong with me? I want to point out that it's probably not you. It's probably the circumstances that you find yourself in. I mean, we can hit our heads against the wall and get all the counseling in the world, but at the end of the day, if we feel like we don't fit in and we're not surrounded by people that make us feel like we fit in, that's a problem. And that's not necessarily you. It's a sign that you need to change the situation. Because when I started my business, I started to meet other business owners, and these business owners started to make me feel like I fit in because we had so many similarities. Of course, business owners, you meet some you like, some you don't. Overwhelmingly, I felt much more at peace and at home as a business owner, and I've met some really amazing friends along the way. And making friends in my previous life was very difficult because, again, I didn't have much in common with the people that I was working with, and that I didn't really have a similar life goal. That's a really important consideration. If you're always thinking like, what's wrong with me? Maybe you're just trying to squeeze yourself into a life that doesn't suit you. Think about that. Let's dive into the next most toxic thought, which is, well, what will my friends and family think? I think especially as women, we can often feel guilt because we've shown up in a particular way for so long, and who are we to just change things on people? Well, number one, don't forget, you do not need to tell everyone. In fact, we don't need to tell many people at all. And I want you to ask yourself this important question. Number one, whose opinion is truly important? Other people's opinions don't necessarily pay the bills. When it comes to opinions that we're worrying about, we can tend to worry about what the neighbors think. You have to remember that there's obviously some people whose opinions do matter, those that are like close to us, love us, and we trust. And then there's other people whose opinions don't matter as much. So be certain on whose opinion you're caring about. Now, when it comes to the people that are important, I then want you to ask yourself another important question. Who can handle this information? There are some people who love you and are close to you who are going to be able to handle the information in a way that's supportive. They might be like, wow, this is kind of cool, kind of interesting. They may even be a sounding board for you to brainstorm. Or there's other people that could be close to us and loving and be too terrified to understand the desire to do so. So there were definitely some people in my life that I knew loved me and wanted the best for me, but they were maybe just too unfamiliar with business ownership. For those people, I kept them at a distance. I learned this the hard way, not because I'm perfect and do everything right, because that is far from the truth. I learned the hard way with my first business because I did fail, and I had so many people laughing at me, extended family members and friends, and just thinking like, okay, what kind of crazy business is Sarah up to next? What I gleaned and learned from that situation is that you don't have to tell everyone. And even among those who love us and trust us, not all of them can handle the info right now until we're actually making money. And the risk of telling people that are not going to be supportive is not worth it, because what can then happen is it will deplete our precious energy in our brain. We're going to burn it about what other people are thinking and what the negative possibilities are, and we don't need to hear that, especially in that first year of starting your business. I like to call it that incubator period, where our brains are pretty open to the power of suggestion, either positive or negative. So you want to make sure that you make a little shield in this amazing brain of yours to deflect the stuff that's just going to discourage you. For no matter what you do in life, there's always the possibility to be discouraged. Sure, starting a business is hard, but getting married is hard. Having kids is hard. Getting a degree is hard. There are so many levels of hard in life that if we were just to sit back and think about that as our leading principle, we probably would never do anything. So I don't care if a business is hard. I care about thinking strategically, making a decision, and then surrounding myself with the people that are going to help to support me and keeping the others at a bit of a distance until the time is right. Let's dive on to our last most toxic thought that can keep keep you stuck in what to do about it. That is one of the most common, one of the most impactful, which is, what if I fail? As humans, we are wired to avoid pain and stay in a place of safety, so our brains can often over worry about failure and what the implication can have in our day-to-day life. Of course, there's many people that are just like, do it scared, but that's not necessarily enough, is it? Because you're like, well, that's just some kind of cheesy quote. What about my real life? I want you to think about this. It is a paradox of life that in order to live, we have to take risks. Getting up in the morning and walking the dog, that's a risk. God forbid, a car could hit us. Skydiving from an airplane, that's a risk. God forbid, something could happen. It's actually an extreme sport. There's some real worries to be afraid about that. For a human, to have a human experience, we need to take risks. Why don't we just identify the risks that are important to us and then recognize that I'm going to pursue this risk strategically so that I can have the possible benefit. I needed to start a business no matter what happened. I wanted to be able to tell the story to my children no matter what the outcome. It worked out for the best. Turning around, I'm so glad that I did it. What stories do you need to have in your life? What things do you need to do to make your life memorable? Because I believe I'm not near the end of my life, hoping, but what do I need to do before the end of my life to make me feel like I really lived? And maybe you're here because it's similar to mine, where you needed to start a business. I hope that this video today helps you to move forward, to move past the pain and the fear that can be associated with making these big changes in your life. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video in the comments. Give me a like and a share it to help me get to more and more people. And if you do want to learn how to start a profitable business, I do also have a free 7-step guide on exactly how to start a smarter business in today's business landscape. Thank you so much for watching, and talk soon.